Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Patience. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful deep V-neck gathered bust crop top and a V-shape sleeve. Before we get started, kindly click the subscribe button. If you have done that, let's get into it. I'll be using this soft crepe fabric and it is 1.5 yards. It is not stretchy. I'll also be drafting on this pattern paper. The top length is going to be the shoulder to waist. I'll be using 17 inches plus 1 inch for hemming allowance, that is 18 inches. So on the front piece, I'll be using length 20 inches because of the bust dart. So this is the half scale block. I have a video on how to draft this. I'll put the link on the description box. So for the bust dart, from the bust span measurement, I marked 1 inch before I connected the bust dart, but you don't have to do that because I later cut it out from the bust span, so it doesn't matter. I'll be making alteration on this pattern, like the deep V-neck and the shape on the lower part of the top. So remember, I used the standard measurement for the neck, which is 3 by 3 inches on the pattern. Here I'll be using 4 inches for the width, and for the deep V-neck I'll be using 12 inches. To make the curve shape on the lower part of the dress, on the side seam I'll mark my underbust measurement and I'll come down by 1 inch. So my underbust measurement is 14 inches and I came down by 1 inch, that is 15 inches. Now I'll make a curve to this 12 inches. Facing the curved part of the ruler downwards, as you can see, I'll connect it this way. I'll also connect the neckline. Now, to avoid neckline gaping, I am going to be adding a dart on this neckline. I'll be adding a little dart. This will help pull the neckline together for a better fit. To do that, I will make a slant line from the bust span measurement this way. I am going to measure this for you to understand. This is about 7 inches. You can measure half of the neckline. It doesn't really matter. For the dart intake, I'll go down by ½ inch. You can go down by 3/4 inch because I used 3/4 inch on the other top and it came out perfect. So I'll connect it this way. Like I said, this will help pull the neckline together for a better fit. To close the dart, I am going to cut through the first dart leg that is close to the folded edge. So I'll cut through and leave about 1/4 inch. I'll also cut the neck dart and I'll leave about 1/4 inch. So I'll close the dart and I'll use a sellotape to secure it. After closing the dart, of course, this line is not going to align. That is not a problem. I'll use my ruler to align it. And I'll cut it out. So I'll bring out the other side of the pattern. So this is the other dart leg. I am going to align it this way and also use my sellotape to secure it. So this is the lower part of the top. Now I am going to close the neck dart. As you can see, I'll use my sellotape to secure it, and of course the neck is not going to align, and that is not a problem. I'll use my ruler to align it and cut it out. This is what we have. The next thing I'm going to do is to close the bust dart. So I'm going to cut it out this way. To enable me close the bust dart, I'll go ahead and cut out this other part of the dart and close the bust dart. I'll use my tape to secure it and also align the side seam and cut it out. I'll do the same thing on this other part. I'll cut out this dart, the remaining dart, and close the bust dart. Align the side seam and also cut it out. After doing that, I'll be cutting through both pieces for my gathers. So I'll be using the splash and spread method. To do that, I'll mark the midpoint of the shoulder this way, and I'll connect it to the dart. I will cut through the lines, leaving about 1/4 inch this way. I'll go ahead and spread this on another pattern paper for my gathers. I've done that, and the space is 6 inches. So I left 6 inches space, and using my sellotape, I made sure to secure it this way. I'll go ahead and join these points and cut it out. I'll do the same thing on the other piece. I made sure to secure it and make sure it is 6 inches. I'll connect it and also cut it out. So this is what we have. On the lower part of the top, after taking in the dart, of course, the hem is not going to align. So I went ahead to add another pattern, as you can see, for it to be straight. So you can do that on your fabric, it doesn't matter. I'll be cutting ×2 of this and also this on my fabric. So I'll be cutting the fabric and the lining. So this is the front piece, guys. Now we'll be cutting out the back piece. So remember, on the back piece I used the standard measurement for the neck, which is 3 by 1 inch. Now I'll be marking the 4 inches I used for the neck width, and for the neck depth I'll use 2 inches. So I used a tracing wheel to trace out all the lines, all our measurements, so that it will be easy for me to use my marker to trace it out on the other side of the pattern. So that was what I did on the front piece. So the back piece of this dress has an opening like a slit and the belt. So to do that, I am going to be using 2.5 inches for the belt. So I'll mark 2.5 inches this way and cut it out. I'll close the dart. So for this dart, this is about 1 inch. I will not be taking in this dart. I'll leave the 1 inch dart for the little gathers on the back piece. So I'll be using it for the gathers on the back piece. The band is going to be the waist circumference. So this is 1/4 of my waist circumference, that is 9 inches, and this is 10.5 inches. I'll be using the dart allowance for the gathers. I've gone ahead to cut the front piece out on my fabric. As you can see, I added 1/2 inch sewing allowance round. So I cut out ×2 of this, and this. I'll keep this one aside. So I'll be working on this part first. I'll go ahead and sew on the neckline, and I'll also make my gathers. So the gathers is going to start from 1 inch from the neckline, and I'll stop the gathers on 2.5 inches from the white pattern this way. So I'll sew on the neckline and open it up. I'll make sure to iron it and then fold it back. I've done that. Now I'll sew the gathers using the longest stitch. I'll start from 1 inch on the neckline and I will stop at this point. I've gone ahead to notch. I'll sew on 1/2 inch and I'll also sew close to the edge again. This is to keep the gathers in place. After doing that, I'll pick both ends of the thread and make my gathers. Do the same thing on the other piece. As you can see, now I'll be attaching the lower part of the top. I'll place the right side using one piece. I'll place the right side of the lower part this way and place the right side of the upper part and I'll align it. You can use any side for the right side and the wrong side on the upper part. So I'll make sure to mark the midpoint. I'll make sure to start my sewing from that point and align it. As you can see, I made sure they are aligned on the midpoint. As you can see, I'll do the same thing on the other piece. Now I'll be attaching the other part of the lower part of the top. So I'll place the wrong side this way. That is, the right sides of both the lower parts of the top is facing each other. As you can see, I'll go ahead and pin down the midpoint. And I'll start sewing from this point. You want to make sure that the midpoints are aligned. Doing that, I'll trim and notch and turn it over. So this is it. This is how it came out. Both sides are neat. I'll go ahead and iron it. I've gone ahead to cut out the back piece. So for the opening on the back piece, I left 1 inch sewing allowance. I'll start sewing from the neckline and I will stop at the chest line. So I'll just mark it out. I'll sew up to the point I marked and I'll use a loose stitch to sew down. After doing that, I'll go ahead and iron it. So I make sure to iron open, as you can see, because I'll be hemming the slit. I'll go ahead and fold it this way and hem. After doing that, I'll open it up. So that is it for the slit. To make the gathers, I'll measure this part. That's the lower part. So what I have here is 10.5 inches. I'll make my gathers and I'll make sure it is 9 inches plus 1/2 inch for side seam. That's 9.5 inches. So I'll be using the extra inches for the gathers. Using a loose stitch, I'll sew on 1/2 inch and make my gathers. I'll ensure it is 9.5 inches, as you can see. So I'll go ahead and attach my belt. I've gone ahead to attach this. I'll be explaining on this part. So for the band, remember I cut out 2.5 inches on the back piece, 1 inch for hemming allowance and 1.5 inches for the band. So I've gone ahead to cut it out. This is 3 inches. So I'll be using 1/2 inch to join it to the bodice. So the width of the band is my quarter of my waist circumference. That is 9 inches times 3. That is 27 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark the 9.5 inches on the band. Placing the right sides together, I sewed on 1/2 inch. So this is it. So this is the 9.5 inches I marked. I made sure it stopped at the slit area, as you can see. Now I cut out 4 pieces of the band. I'll be using 2 on both sides. So I'll place the other band this way, making sure the right sides are together. I'll sew on 1/2 inch again. So I'll sew all through to the band and also the belt. So it depends on the shape you want. If you want the V shape on the picture, I'll just go ahead and explain it here. You come down by 2.5 inches and connect it to the edge this way. So make sure to add 1 extra inch on the width. So what I have here is 5 inches, but I'll be marking 4 inches this way, and I'll cut it out. So I cut it out on fold. I'll just cut through. So I have my both pieces. I'm just going to sew it on the waist. On this fabric, I'm just making the square shape. I'll stop here and trim it out. After doing that, I'll bring it inside out and I'll make sure to iron. I'll do the same thing on the other side. So this is it, guys. This is how beautiful it came out. I've gone ahead to cut out a facing for the neckline. So this is it. This is how beautiful it came out. I'll just serge the facing. Now I am going to be joining the front and the back piece. So I'll place the right sides together this way. I'll sew on the side seam and I'll also join the shoulder. So guys, I've done that. I've joined the shoulder and also the side seam. The next thing I'm going to do is to hem. Starting from the band on this point, I'll fold in 1/2 inch and fold in 1/2 inch again, and I'll hem. I've gone ahead to cut out the sleeve. This is 17 inches plus 1 inch for hemming allowance. So I added extra 1 inch on this part because I am going to pleat the sleeve on the shoulder area. So to get the V shape on the sleeve, from the folded edge, I'll mark 2.5 inches and I'll connect the 2.5 inches to the edge and cut it out. So that is it for the V shape. I'll go ahead and sew on the side seam, hem the sleeve and attach the sleeve. I've done that and this is how really beautiful it came out. So we have come to the end of this tutorial, guys. If this was helpful, kindly give this video a thumbs up and also click on the subscribe button, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell to be updated when I upload a new video. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.